What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you again here for another week of Every Day We're Covering, where we talk the world of sports, wagering, and having a good time. And we are back in the saddle again. A little bit of a break. We had lots of things going on. Of course, the holiday weekend it always messes people up. Official kickoff to summer there with Memorial Day. So we pushed things back a little bit, but we're back to talk what's going on here in the world of sports. And we've got quite a bit of things here to get to here today as well as things that are happening and then a lot of things that are just kind of off-season topics as well. But SJ, it is nice to finally feel that sunshine. I know we both got the faux beach backgrounds going on here while we're on the call, so it's feeling a lot more like summer right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. And speaking of that, we need a little summer break, so we had to take a couple weeks off there to recharge it. And good timing here. It seems like what do we got? The NBA, NHL finals kind of about to get going here, and of course, you mentioned lots of other things. There's never a slow time when it comes to news in the sports world, so we'll touch on some of that too. So yeah, it's good to have a few days to let loose and enjoy that sunshine. And at least for me, I don't know about in your nether your parts there, your neck of the woods, but a little more consistency has been nice.
Yeah, it's been more. Yeah, the warmth has stayed. We haven't had any of those. Well, recently, it hasn't been that long ago, but last week or so, we've had not any of those dips down to like the 50s and 60s, and then even nights that got into the 30s for a while was not pleasant. So, I finally have I've sat at a couple of baseball games, and I've worn a short and t-shirts, and that's the way it should be. That's finally in that mode. So it's good. Yes, I had an awesome. Time, of course, always do, but Memorial Day weekend, we got some folks together at the pond, did some fishing, and cleaned them up, fried them up. Had plenty of beverages to lube me along the way, and that's what we live for this time of year, and I'm glad it's finally feeling that way for sure. As we dive in here, let's talk, of course, first about what kind of beverages we are enjoying. I have to say, I personally have been drinking an awful lot of the old Yuengling family. I knew that was going to happen when it got introduced to Iowa. It's like, yeah, I'm probably going to be locked into that for a while, and certainly have been. I got a message from my neighbor yesterday, and I was kicking myself because I don't know why I haven't thought of this yet, but he sent me a picture of the Yuengling Flight in the glass bottle, and he had a lime floating in it. He's like, Flight with lime. He's like, it works really well, and makes sense. Like it any light beer, obviously you can do that, but I can see that working very well. So I was kicking myself I didn't have any of it around. I had bought the light recently. I kind of mixing it up between the light and the Flight, so I've been doing that. So that's been a good little addition to the regular drink repertoire. But for the show here, I did stop and get something. This is kind of kicking it back a little bit, I guess. One of the original kind of craft beer craze places, Dogfish Head, the old folks up there in the great Northeast. They make some good stuff, and of course, one of them that made them famous was the old 60-minute IPA and the 90-minute IPAs. And so I grabbed the 60-minute IPA, saw this at the one of the local stores, and I thought, they haven't had any of that for a long time, Dogfish Head, no matter what it is. So I thought I'd try it, and pretty damn good. It's really like a refreshing, again, more on the citrus side of things when it comes to the hop varieties in this one. So you're not, the only ones that really get me is when you're getting to that like pine tree, side of the family, and that doesn't do it for me. But this one's pretty good. It's a good mix, very crisp, good beer. Obviously, it's had its recognition for a long time for a reason. So that's what I'm drinking on. SJ, what do you got over there?
Well, another thing too, when you mentioned the Yingling, a nice thing about that, and I think it's with the Flight and also this traditional lager. They have like those, I guess they're aluminum, like the twist off tops that you can. I think they come in like only like the bigger packs, like the 20 plus packs or whatever. But it's like a kind of like a 16-ounce, a little bigger thing. But also, I just like that. Of course, when it's the summer, they're probably going down pretty quick. But if not, it's nice to me. Is like as a guy that always has a drink by him and someone's kicking it over, I like to have a something I can put a lid back on it
security, yeah.
and not spill, half my drink. And ruin kind of the day. So you have to look out for those. I do like those aluminum bottles, especially if you get them like in a cooler or throw them in
Oh
a
yeah,
smaller fridge. Then things get frosty and
yeah.
icy and all that. Yeah, you can't beat that. Kind of speaking of playing the hits here, I know this is right up your alley, and it was so. I mean, I like it. I love the hot warm days, so I'm not complaining. But it's been hot, so I was like, oh man, what sounds good as a shandy. So I went to at least larger production as far as it. Line and Cools can't really get beat for the shandies. I don't think
Yeah.
they do that pretty damn well. But I went with the orange shandy. I don't know if that's
Okay.
I'm sure you've
Yep.
maybe had the varieties or not, but this one it might be my new favorite as far as the ones they make go. That's kind of get that citrus like you said, but not too much of the back end like you're chewing some grass or anything like
Yeah.
that. So no, this is good. I was on a whim, I was like, ah, shandy, it's hot. Let's get something that I can drink easy and I won't feel all friggin' out of sorts there if I'm, be out in 90-degree weather for a few hours.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, it's been a while since I've had the orange. I'm gonna have to do that again. And I will say too, like, some of these other manufacturers are trying to get in the game that they're not meant to be in. And I saw the post the other day from Bush, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do the new thing," and they're like, "Do you want us to make a lemon or a whatever?" It's like, no, just make your damn Bush Light and stay out of the way. Like,
Yeah, I got nothing against, when you're, at a tailgate or something, you just want some, nice, easy drinking, whatever your domestic be in this case, Bush. I'm good with that. But yeah, I'm with you. Just kind of do what you do and just kind of stick with that. And yeah, it was like, I mean, I've tried a few of the varieties, just like kind of want to see what it's like. And I'm kind of past the point of the experimenting, at least with a company that's not really one that branches out much. You had like the Natter days and the
yeah,
Apple was like the big one Bush did, right? Like Bush Light
Bush
Apple was like
apple,
their
yeah,
first one. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll try it here and there, but it's nothing I'm gonna seek out or whatever. Like if someone happens to have a loose one rolling around their fridge or something, maybe I'll snag it.
yeah,
But and then the thing with it that gets me too is, these kind of things like I don't even know how good that's gonna be, and it's always like a 12 or bigger pack.
yeah. You gotta
Like,
buy, yeah.
I don't want to buy 12 of those. It freaking sucks. What am I
They're
going to
lock
do
you
with
in,
it?
yeah.
Like, yeah, because I haven't saw one yesterday. It was it was. I was like, I thought about it for a second. I'm like, I can't even drink 6 of those probably. But it was I think PBR put out a pickle flavored something.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a beer, but it was like pickle shot beer or something. And I
Hmm.
was like, I'm pickle fan here. I can't do the drinks though for some reason. I don't know what it is. It doesn't translate. But I thought about it. I was like, I just can't do it. And that's just 6, let alone these 24, 30, 36 packs where you're like, damn, you better like that or you better just be willing to drink anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm not a big pickle guy. Like I can do the pickle shots.
Yeah.
I don't mind that, especially if you're out like on the golf course or whatever, and everybody's doing shots. That's a good one to do because it's kind of refreshing and it actually
Get you rehydrated.
does have some benefits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, the beers I've had a couple and I'm like, no, that's I can't do that. But yeah, and also with everybody gets of course I don't know, it's all a marketing gimmick too. Like it's kind of like it's here, it's not here kind of thing. With the Bush Apple. But I've had it before, and I've had some buddies that love it, and I get whatever. I mean, you love it, you love it. Everybody has their own taste, but like, I tried one, and I was like, no, this I don't know. I don't. Number one, I don't think apple is like a really good pairing with beer and begin with. It just doesn't work very well. And yeah, when you consider it's Bush Light, and it's not going to make it any better. So uh, I'm just not that way. I did read an interesting article the other day, though, not to carry on the beer talk too long, but people love beer. In Germany, I guess a lot of these things have come to be because of the purity laws. In Germany, like they can only make beer out of the traditional things. You can only use hops, malt, water, and yeast. That's all you can use to make beer in Germany. Now, they have different varieties of that because of the yeast strains across the country, but then they get creative with what they mix it with to make different things. It's not necessarily like, oh, we're going to brew this whatever beer that's flavored.
They want to make like a cocktail out of it.
Yeah, they just stick something else in it. Like, and that's where a shandy came from. Is like, oh, we're gonna put some lemonade in this Berliner Weiss, and it's a beer. It's a shandy. One thing that the one that caught my eye that I'd never heard of before, and I'm gonna have to try this because it's too intriguing to me. They have one that's very popular apparently in certain parts of the country is called Diesel, and it's a beer, and I can't remember the base beer. I think it's like a traditional lager of some sort, and then they mix it half and half with Coca Cola. I'm like, I don't know. That might be okay. That might be good. I mean, if the Germans love it, it probably is good. But I can see, of course, obviously Diesel. It's got the color and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I'll give that a shot sometime. But I'm surprised that hasn't caught on somewhere else yet, because that's the only one I haven't heard of. The ones, varieties they talked about the Radlers, they talked about the Shandies, and the other kind of usual mix-ins.
Yeah.
But that was a different one. So I'll have to try that out sometime.
That's good to know. I mean, I've mixed beers with other stuff before and kind of got a sideways look. So I guess maybe there was inspiration from someone. It's like, I don't know, and that's with something that we're just like, this isn't probably my favorite, so I'm gonna try to enhance the flavor a little bit, or just mix, or maybe you're just trying to ease into the day if you got a long day ahead. So sometimes maybe throw a little Sprite or 7-Up with something. But it's obviously got to be can't just do it with anything. It's got to be a certain type with a certain type. Can't just be all random, all willy nilly. But yeah, let's we'll have to do some experiment here. On these hot days coming up. With maybe make a list or something. We can get them into next year's Parch Madness.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's one of those things too, where probably some drunk ass is just like, I'm gonna put these together, and then like, oh damn, it's pretty good. So everybody start drinking. That's how it goes. All right, so we'll dive into some topics here. I guess we'll start with what's currently happening. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to the sports world, one thing that's been hot and heavy has been the NBA and NHL playoffs. I have to admit that I've been a pretty bad fan when it comes to those two sports here recently. Just nature of like life, mostly. Like I've been out at shit and can't watch it all the time, but been paying attention obviously to the results and what's happening, and caught a little bit here and there. Am a little bit surprised on the hockey side how it played out. Not necessarily who's there now, but just how those two teams got there. The Hurricanes 4-1 over the Canadiens to get in, and the clean sweep by the Golden Knights over the Avalanche. Nobody saw that coming, I don't think, because the Avs were playing pretty damn good hockey, and they're a good team. I think that's a good microcosm though of like how damn hard it is to win in the NHL playoffs. Well, any playoffs for that matter, but the NHL playoffs for sure, because they have two. You're talking about two kind of like generational players on that team, and McKinnon and Makar, and they got it on the offense and the defense. So you think that, they're pretty set. This is a really solid team, and they played that way all year. And it just so happened that they could never find it in that conference final against another good team. And it also is a little bit of a, this experiment's been going on for a while now with Vegas. Because they kind of have written the playbook for an expansion franchise. They went out and got, of course, you're gifted a great team to begin with, because you get to take a good player from every team when you join the league. They did that immediately. But then when they started to get draft picks, they immediately started turning and trading all those guys over. So they've just been doing nothing but like trading out and then hiring a top guy to come in and make them better. And it's continued to work for an awful long time now. And here they are again. I think that's why a lot of teams hate them. Nobody likes them. They want them to lose in this series. And I would have to say that I'm one of them as well. I would like to see the Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup. They get started on Tuesday night for game one of that Stanley Cup final, 7:00. Should be an interesting series. Hopefully it's not like the final, conference finals, because from a fan's perspective, you want to see close games and you want to see close series. But we didn't get that on the NHL side, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, NHL is more like you're surprised when it doesn't go to Game 7, unlike most of the other sports where you're like, oh, Game 7, you're kind of excited. You're like, you're like, we don't see this all the time at hockey. It's almost like down, 3-1 or even 3-0 isn't like as crazy as it is in the other sports where you're like, oh, they might still come back and actually like really mean it, because always say like, oh, it's not over yet. But most sports, when you're down, 3-0 in a 7-game series, it's pretty much over, except for whatever the, if it's in 5-6 or whatever. But hockey, we've seen it have time and time again. Like, I don't necessarily have a either way, it's whoever wins is was okay by me. But just it is to me, I think it's kind of it is a little bit humorous because I don't really feel too you know, bothered by if Vegas coming in and being so good so quick. But it's funny like how long that city tried to get like pro sports and then they get one and it's like hockey, which
Yeah,
Vegas and hockey don't really you would never like pair
out in the
that
damn
together.
desert.
You
Yeah,
would have thought basketball would have been first because they were always doing stuff there, NBA, and sure
yeah,
it sounds like it's probably coming soon, but just for them to be as successful because even with the advantages and the draft picks, how many teams have we saw in the I'll just say NFL for instance, or just because that's kind of a little bit more comparable with the rounds and that type of thing. You get all these picks every year, and like, and they still suck. They're still drafting the wrong guys and not developing them. So I know there's a little different situations, not the same kind of setup there, and you got a smaller roster and less of a depth issue, but still it is, and there's a little bit cushy kind of give a little credit as far as how successful they've been in a short amount of time because this would be what their if they win, be their second in like 4 years,
hmm
which for any franchise that's pretty dang good. And even just looking at like the past freaking champion, just talking to the Vegas thing, it's like you also got Florida teams winning it twice in like the last 5 or 6 years. Like
yeah,
Tampa has two and Panthers have two.
hmm
So it's like I mean, of course they don't play. People aren't from Florida on the. I mean, there might
yeah,
be a guy here or there, or whatever, and probably no one's from Vegas, but still, it's funny with this. You think of hockey as like of course northern,
yeah,
Canada mostly, but even just the northern states or cold weather cities, and even freaking Carolina, it's like
yeah. Not really. Yeah,
how long have they? I
yeah,
mean, that's a newer franchise too. Even
yeah,
I know them, so that's kind of to me. I do well, in it. Of course, you don't have a emotional tie, so that's easy for me to say. But also, I just think it's kind of for the general fan. It is to see different teams and be like, oh, this is new, and because even with the sports that you like, it does get old unless it's your team. It gets old with somebody always being in it, like just like oh, they're going to be there again. It's like it's nice to have a little variety. Of course, I mean if the team's just that good, they're just that good. But also, it's when you feel like it's a situation where a team may be getting, getting some benefits from whatever the case may be. Like, fortunately, the NBA righted that wrong there. We'll touch on later. That was that was going to be good. But when a team's just flopping all over the place and winning, it's not the same as when a team's actually like just better than the other team. Then
yeah.
you're like, oh well, they're just that damn good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And well, and the thing that does kill me a little bit about the NHL thing, especially with Vegas, and you compare them to another like not that old franchise that you would have expected to, um, well, that would have been cool, I guess, to win at this point in the Minnesota Wild. Like a hockey crazed
Yeah.
state, and they haven't had that chance to sniff the ultimate goal there yet. It's just kind of wild. But and I mean, I guess it comes and goes too, because if for a long time it was like, you always thought Detroit was a team to be reckoned with, and they for a long time now have not been very good. So, it's just it definitely swings, but it is nice to have variety, and the NHL's certainly doing that, at least with a few teams. Vegas is getting kind of old, and that's why people are tired of it. So we'll see what
I
happens.
understand it. Yeah, just yeah.
If you're, by the way, though, if you're a betting man, and we of course run that angle a lot here on the show, as part of obviously the title, but the overs would be a good way to go as far as goal scoring is concerned. One team or the other, or the game in general, because they both have been pretty consistently hitting some high numbers. Vegas has hit over 2.5 goals in 7 of their last 10 games, and Carolina's hit over 2.5 in 5 of their last 10 games. So that's a pretty damn good average for goal scoring. So if you get some of those, 6.5 lines, you probably feel pretty good about it. I think going into this one. I know it sounds crazy in the Stanley Cup final, but that might be the way to look if you're looking to lay a little coin on that.
Well, it does seem like too in general, hockey's just kind of gone that way of a higher scoring game, which I do think was it'd be a positive as far
Mm-hmm.
as I'm clear the purist of the game, like a baseball purist, may not enjoy it as much, but I think it's a good way to. I mean, I don't think it's. I'm sure there's some changes here and there to like what you can do and can't do, but as far as I just think the players are getting so damn good. It's like you can only contain them for so much, even in a sport like that where it moves so fast and this kind of constricted confines of the surface that you play on. It's like I mean when you're friggin' whipping it like the friggin' shots are coming at you like that, and I still it's always a wonder of like, how does the goalie even see anything?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? But I mean, obviously, do that. It's amazing. It's just a matter of like, I just can't even imagine that POV of having that come at you. And I mean, if anybody's ever like, actually, you think a hockey puck, like, oh, so pick it up, and like
Yeah, it's hard.
that's a piece of equipment that can catch you real quick.
Yeah, yeah. How do you not just like duck out of the way? Is a good question. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and like I just happened to be the other day because my son caught it and was like, "Oh, this is on." It was the Champions League final was on between PSG and Arsenal, and they went to a shootout, and it was same thing. Like in like a hockey or a soccer shootout, it's like these goalies have no fucking clue. Like
You
they're
just have
just
to guess and hope you
yeah,
guess right. That's it.
it's
Yeah. Or like
crazy.
you dive, they maybe shoot it over the post just or too hyped up and
Yeah, yeah,
miss wide high or you just guess. Yeah, because I mean, of course, there's tendencies, and if you're one foot or the other, but still, yeah, it's a total. You're just guessing and hope you guess right. There's no way of ever knowing. And I can't even imagine if you actually stopped. I mean, because it happens, of course, but being that person that like stops, like on the top players, you're like, how the hell did I do that? You just be
yeah,
like freaking,
yeah,
it'd be an amazing
yeah,
feeling, like just
yeah. I
to
know.
stop Messi on a penalty kick. Like what the hell? Like
What did I just
what
do?
did I
Yeah.
just do? Like,
Yeah, yeah. My son, he said because the dude for Arsenal, Rafa, he actually stopped one,
yeah,
and Carson was like, "Oh, imagine how that has to feel. That has to hurt, right? They're coming at you." I was like, "Well, yeah," but like also I was like, "How friggin' awesome would that feel too? Like you got to be just hyped when you do something like that. That's like blocking a punt in football. It's got to be the same feeling, just like this doesn't happen." I did everything I could do and just like guessed the right way. Like it's like winning a lottery, like
yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Not only that kind of a crazy of a play, and then you're doing it with like everything on the line in that situation because
Mm-hmm.
it's I mean it's as far the sudden death as it gets.
Yeah, yeah. It was wild. And then of course the way it ended was the last dude that had a chance sailed it over the crossbar. So wow,
Uh,
man, that's got to be a bad feeling.
yeah.
There's like, so yeah, interesting going on with the hockey. NBA. A lot of people happy. I think that the San Antonio Spurs got it done in Game 7 there against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Kind of some of the same reasons, I think, with the Vegas thing. People have the Thunder fatigue a little bit. And, what you alluded to, just the way the game's played. And that really, it at first it was like a talking point, and now it's become a theme. And I think there's so many people that are on board with like, how can we make this better and eliminate this part of the game?
I mean, I guess maybe is my memory, but I'm pretty sure not because that's one do follow fairly closely, and especially in the playoffs. Like I just don't remember it being to this extent. Just even like last year when they won it. So for
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
fact that it's kind of changed that quickly, and I know, I guess someone could you could probably go back to and find games here and there where like, oh, this has been going on for a while, but to this extent, I mean, every time. Gilgis Alexander takes a jumper. He's flopping left to the left or the right. It's like, dude, it's a jump shot. I get it when you're going to the hoop, and I mean, drawing context kind of become a thing in itself over the last few years just across the league. But I mean, I understand if you're going to the hoop and driving because you're going to get some kind of thing. But on jump shots, that's kind of where it's a little bit too much. And even when it was back when like the Kings were kind of the first team that really kind of when dealing with Shaq kind of did the, but that was more of like a defensive thing. And you kind of like, well, this is our only chance to, we got to do something against Shaq. He's freaking like a,
Yeah.
man among
Yeah.
boys, basically. So, I mean, not necessarily liked it, but at least there was some type of I don't know. It seemed like you could like kind of legitimize it at least. Now it's just like all we want to do is get fouled all the time. That's all we're trying to do. We're not really. I mean, they're good enough where the shots go in half the time, but we're not even worried about that. We just want to get fouled. It's like the whole goal is getting fouled. So, and there was a lot of instances of, I mean, you do and maybe just because you wanted a team to go so bad, so maybe it's exaggerated, but it just felt like there was a very similar, instances of things happening on one end that was a whistle, and then the next come down the other way, and they're friggin' damn near friggin' on Castle's back getting a friggin' piggyback ride, and they're like, oh, and, go and loot this clean or whatever. And I know, I remember when they first got to the league, like this other guy at work is a pretty big NBA fan, and he's all about Wemby, and I was just like kind of going back and forth, and I still don't really. I mean, you can't deny how good he is, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he's that size and can still shoot it and do some of the things he can do. I still don't necessarily wouldn't say like, oh, I like the way he plays, or I'm like a fan of him, but definitely recognize how good he is. But so I don't even. It's not that I'm like, oh, I was a Wemby guy and I want them to beat him. It got to the point where Oklahoma City is just dreadful to watch. It was some of those games. I'm like, man, I thinking this is just like not fun. It's not basketball. It's not. I mean, even I understand it's a different league. They want offense and scoring, but I don't think that's the way to go about it. It seems like they've had the Pistons when they were winning, like scoring barely 90 points, and they kind of were worried about that. But it seems to me that they like overcorrected, and now it's like everything's we want 120, 130. I think kind of got to find 100 to 110 is reasonable. It's still decent offense, but you're not going to the line every other possession, and that mean that's we don't want to watch a free throw contest.
nobody
Dude, I
wants
would
to
go
watch
down to the local church and watch the youth shootout. Like
Yeah.
I want to watch like a basketball game, like because even if you didn't like people like Curry and stuff like that, at least it was like I mean this dude you just can't he's
just shooting,
getting shots from everywhere. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't throwing his body or flailing around like freaking sniper got him from the up in the freaking up from the rafters. Like come on, dude. Geez. And then it's like oh I'm fine now. Like
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. We were just talking about soccer. Sometimes you get some of that
yeah.
stuff going on. But the other thing that kills me about that situation too is like it's almost come like full circle from where people started to get upset about it. Like people started to hate the NBA because they thought it was too physical. They thought it was like, people just running each other over, which at times there probably was happening, yes. And now you're to the point where a guy's doing everything in his power to try to make the official make a call when it's just like hair, a touch of his hair follicle. Like, and it's opposite of what everybody hated, and they hated just as much. So like, we need the happy medium here. And I guess I hate that mindset too, like that you're gonna make, because I realize sometimes how damn hard it is to be an official in a lot of sports.
Yeah,
and you're gonna make those guys constantly force them to make those decisions, and you want them to decide the game, and that's nobody wants that. We want to see you're supposed to be the best of the best. Like you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars to go put the ball in the hole and look great doing it. Let's not make it, like you said, a free throw contest that nobody gives a shit about. Like, we want to see you make great plays.
well, and that was what big thing too is like they have enough talent, good enough players. They did it last year. It's like you don't need all that extra stuff. That's kind of where I come down. I was like, just play basketball and you'll be fine. And also I mean, as far as the league goes, you would think you wouldn't want. I mean, that's a real easy, the casual, guy which doesn't know much, but still, that's a lot of the perception is. This thing, fixed is the first thing you go to. Oh, it's all rigged anyways. And when you're blowing your whistle for one team, 50, 40 times a game, it doesn't look good. So you would think a league that's already had, a major scandal with a referee of their own, you think they'd be like, we got to do something here different. We can't keep going this way. And it did seem like as the series wore on, at least game 6 or 7, I thought were a bit better, especially game 7. And I know Thunder had a couple injuries they were dealing with, and freaking San Antonio just came out on fire. Like they were not missing. Like that was kind of, if you're a fan of that team or just wanting to watch a good game, like that was a game 7 performance. Like they were ready to go. And for me, like I think the finals either way, it's kind of good because San Antonio's obviously it's been a while since both teams, but they've had some success, but been a hell of a drought for them. And then just I know it's like it's a big market, but sometimes with their fan base, it almost feels like God, it's just like a little different because the Knicks, man, that's a hell of a like that's like their. I mean, I know there's the Yankees and all the NFL teams too, but I don't know, to me, it's like New York. That's like the Knicks town. I think to me at least, it's like the freaking Garden and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's the to me like that place would be freaking. That would be a freaking a zoo if they were able to win it or get because that's the I mean how many things the freaking Bing Bong and all that stupid crap comes from like Knicks fans in the street just being crazy like all those stupid little words you hear all the become memes and all that stuff that's like even though it's a big city that fan base is like a little different than like your typical like New York LA type Miami type of fan base.
Yeah, you're right. And like they've had of course those figures that have been along with it forever. You know, the
Yeah.
stars sitting on the sides too, and with a lack of success, you know, which is like
Yeah.
crazy. Like then obviously they're hungry as ever. So yeah, that's gonna be rabid. It'll be interesting. Crazy what they've been able to do. Certainly in this postseason run.
Well,
Like
I mean,
you
they were
can't
on their
say
deathbed. Yeah.
yeah, you can't doubt them. I mean, they've done what they're supposed to do and then some. Like nobody's been on a tear like this in the NBA playoffs probably ever. Obviously, now you got to do it when it counts, but they certainly are off to one hell of a start.
And I think game one will be a little tricky because it's always the conversation of is being off that long good or very emotional, draining series on the
Mm-hmm.
Spurs end, of course, just because you had to go seven and it was kind of. I mean, I'm sure they'll see each other again in the future, but it could be one of those passing of the torch type of moments. So we'll see how game one plays out. But I would say I mean, you want to win it. I'm not saying the teams don't from that, but for as far as a viewing standpoint, I wouldn't put a lot of stock into game one because it is game one. It's like, don't see each other a lot. Who knows? It change a lot, but I think it will be that will be just be the talk of, oh, Knicks are rested, and that's come out. But if Spurs are not, nope, Knicks they waited too. Well,
Yeah,
they didn't really. Either way, you don't really have a choice. The finals start when they start, but just kind of getting ahead of the the low hanging fruit that is sports talk media. A
yeah.
lot of times
Uh-huh.
these days, that's what it will. I would just say I mean, you want to win, of course. You're not gonna try not to win, but I don't. This I think. I mean, I'd be surprised if it's six minimum. I could see a
Yeah,
7 game series too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like matchup wise, a very interesting series, and there
I
could
mean,
be a lot
basically,
of
no one can match it. I mean, it's like you're not gonna match up with freaking Wemby. It's like that. That's
yeah.
just
Nobody
like a
can.
you
Yeah,
guys gonna. But who? Well, I mean, Brunson's gonna have a field day with those young guards too at the same time.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that to me, those are the cancel out. It's gonna be the I guess the cast, the
Yeah,
surrounding cast that's gonna kind of decide it.
yeah, and could be a lot of kind of jockeying as far as the strategy is concerned too from both teams. You know, who are we trying to free up? Who are we going to? Kind of thing as that series continues, or what defense are we going to throw at them? You know, kind of thing. So, be interesting. Should be a good series. We hope so. Hopefully, both of those NBA and NHL turn out to be good ones. Moving on into some other talk here, we'll move on to the NCAA front. And we'll start with something that we've already talked about here on the show, or kind of we had rumblings of what was happening, and now we've had some more news come out. The Brennan Sorsby saga there with Texas Tech, formerly, of course, Cincinnati, and unbeknownst to me before the whole story, formerly at Indiana.
I mean, apparently it sounds like that was his first mistake going to Indiana because that's where this all got going.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, and it has become more apparent too, by the way, that this guy does have a problem. Like he was betting on Turkish
I mean,
league
everything. Like,
basketball.
yeah, what couldn't you bet on? Oh, yeah, anything you could, he would.
yeah. So he was in it. Like he was one of those guys that was chasing. Like something didn't go well. He's trying to find the next thing that he could bet on and watch and pay attention to. And I think anybody that's wagered some can relate to that to a degree. I'm sure like you've had those days where you're like, well, I'll do this and maybe that'll make up for that from earlier today, kind of thing. But getting that deep, that's a whole other level. So yeah, we hope that the guy and he's been doing the right things as far as we know, is going to treatment and getting some help, because nobody wants to be in that situation, and that's not a good way to live your life. And the university has been very supportive of him, so I'll give him credit on that front. I think they, obviously they have an interest in doing so. So maybe that's not, his health probably isn't priority number one in their mind, but they're at least doing that for him. But it sounds like the guy is pretty much done as far as college football is concerned, because the NCAA came out and denied the latest, appeal to his suspension. There's still, I guess, a little bit of ambiguity if that can be appealed from a court level standpoint. It would have to be a ruling that would affect, a lot of other things, and I think that's where we're drawing the line in the sand here on this deal. Because if you do, give this guy a pass and say that, well, you can come back and play, then you're opening Pandora's box for a lot of other people and some that have already been in this situation previously. We had the deal not that long ago with the institutions in Iowa, with Iowa and Iowa State, where a lot of guys ended up, losing their eligibility or going on and playing somewhere else. Quarterback Hunter Deckers from Iowa State being an example. He ended up playing, a role in the NFL and played in the UFL. But his was much more minor than this. And so the minute that you say, okay, you're going to get a lot of lawsuits coming your way. And that's not something the NCAA wants or can probably handle. So I think that this is pretty much a lost cause on Mr. Sorsby's front.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And then, I mean, it doesn't, it's always, we guess whenever we bring up these stories, we always kind of talk about them, but then say, well, see how it plays out or wait till all things come out. And as that does, I'm sure there could be still more, but it seems like the majority of the info is out there. It does seem like this, because I remember that when they first did, it's like, oh, he's only betting a couple bucks here and there on baseball games, and then it just keeps going more and more and more. So, yeah, it sounds like it was definitely like an issue, and it could still be. But I guess I don't know, what do you want to say? The one variable that doesn't get brought up and it doesn't excuse or be like, oh, this is not that big of a deal, but it's fact of course, said you can relate to it, not of like, oh man, I lost, I want to try. You kind of just call it chasing that loss or whatever. But when you factor in when it comes to athletes, I think you're competitive, but how competitive do you think a pro or Division One athlete is? So I think that probably kind of hits that emotion more so for them. So that's what makes it even more. And that's more just thinking of like why it was such a problem is because it'd be very easy for you to be like, I know I can beat this in the next one, and just kind of feeds into that competitive mindset that you have, and then you're really in trouble, and maybe you have the means, and it's not like you're still okay, you have enough, to survive, but you don't want to, like you said, go through life battling this type of addiction, because especially now where it's, maybe before you had to find somebody that knew somebody, call them up and make a bet here or there, and or if you had casinos around, go into there, but now it's all you need to. Who doesn't have a phone? Everybody does. Yeah. So now it's all right there. So of course there's probably methods of blocking the apps and all that thing, and that's probably in place. But it's a lot easier now if you do have such an issue like this to kind of go down that, go deep down that, down the rabbit hole, because it's how many apps could you or would you have on your phone if you were allowed to?
Yeah.
And it takes a few seconds, bet on whatever you want,
Yeah. How quick can they stop you is a good question. That I did see in that story. Well, the other thing that has kind of gotten wild about this too is that the university has been so like involved, and you had, I'm sure you saw that, but like the university president wrote a letter and released a letter about the situation where it's like, that's not something you should be touching to begin with. And B, doesn't make it look any better. Like, I don't know. You're trying to separate two things here. And it just, it obviously we all know, like whenever it comes to any of these types of situations, people are going to pick sides. And they're going to pick the side that they have an interest in or that they have a connection to. We know that. But you don't have to make that public either. Like you don't have to, especially as from the university standpoint side. And I think that's where a lot of people have soured on all this NIL situation to begin with, is because we're starting to blur those lines between institution and just money pit. Like what's the difference here? We all knew for a long time that there's plenty of these guys that have been playing sports that didn't have much of an interest in the education side of it, and it is what it is, but they still had to kind of jump through the hoops, at least to, make it seem like they did some right things, or, but now it's just like, we don't even care. And that's where it's kind of weird, and you got to take a step back, I think, and separate those things too. And I don't want to say that it's not, like in this situation too, I hate to, you can't compartmentalize this different situations, but it's pretty hard in like this scenario to feel too awfully bad because like the guy only had one more year he was going to play anyways. Like he's played college football. It's not like his life was ruined because, this deal. But and at the same time, it's of his doing. Like, he had the choice, he made the choice. Like you deal with the consequences. So he's probably going to still have a chance to go play professionally and whatever. So it's not like, it's the end of the road for this guy. So I think that's what makes this different. Like I said, you can't really draw the rules up that way, but it's what makes this feel different.
Yeah, it's more just like a pissed away opportunity. So you're like kind of thinking, I mean, I put yourself in that spot and you would hope that you would, make a better choice, but it's all, it's easier. Not saying everybody would have a gambling addiction, but there's lots of other ways people have ruined good opportunities, and it's not the end of the road either, like you said. So if you can play, there's always somebody willing to look the other way, and for far worse things than this.
Yeah.
Not saying this isn't bad enough, but there's criminal things that have kind of been, kind of gone away that, for whatever reason. So yeah, it's more kind of like it's just one of those like kind of I don't know what to call it, like just sensational type, kind of grabs your attention because you're like, man, guess you know, people forget that they're regular people. It's like just because you can throw a ball so many yards or have some kind of crazy athletic ability, or even just with actors and musicians. It's like, well, everybody's
human, yeah.
People deal with problems. Like it's not. So to me, it's like I don't want nothing bad to happen to them. I hope everything gets sorted out that thing. But it is sometimes, at least for perception wise, good to have a reality check of like, don't freaking make these people out to be some superhumans when they're just regular people with some they do have talent and some type of skills that not everybody else has, but also it's like they're not freaking they're nothing. They're on the same level as us as far as people goes.
Yeah. Isn't it? I think I find that fascinating sometimes too. Like, just the perspective of celebrity. Like, because there's millions of people out there that don't give two shits that Russell Crowe can act. Like they don't even know who he is.
Right.
But yet there's others who are like, oh, I groveled on the ground when he walked by today. Like, it's just crazy how that is so different from thing to thing. And you're right. Like, we obviously enjoy this stuff. So you get caught up in like the sports world kind of thing and what you follow people, or then of course your kids get involved and you want them to be good and you want them to succeed. But then you step back and you realize at the end of the day, like, oh, he threw a ball really far. Like, does that really, like, is that going to help him in life? I don't know. Like, it's cool right now, but I think it's more about, I think it's more so about the experiences, obviously.
Yeah.
If people understand that, then that's fine. Because I even we had an interesting kind of little like car conversation with my son the other day, because we were talking about how, different sports get different, like, kind of recognition or whatever. And, we've seen, obviously, a lot of these sports that are considered non-revenue or whatever get thrown under the bus or just cut. And those kind of things have been happening all over the place. And, I told him, it's like, I think everybody's failing to realize that, like, at no point in history did any of these sports make money or, that wasn't the point, I guess, and we've lost that idea that this is an opportunity for kids to keep doing what they love. And a lot of people still are interested in it. Yeah, maybe it doesn't draw hundreds of thousands of fans and it doesn't make cash because you don't have anything to sell, but it's still like a sport that a lot of people do growing up. Like, for example, softball, baseball that's going on right now. It's getting some attention because of the time of year it is. But for the most part, those sports get forgotten a lot. And it feels like it's kind of a willy-nilly, oh, well, I guess we don't need that because it didn't draw a couple bucks. But you think about the number of people that play those sports, across the country and have an interest in it. That's what it's about. It's giving them a chance to, like, build themselves up and have a team experience and make some friends and build their network for the future. That's the idea. And I think we've lost that with this whole money situation.
Well, I mean, just competition in general is like, yeah, I know it's made fun of a lot, but that commercial where it's like going pro in something other than sports, which I mean, but you still had experiences that you grew up playing whatever sport you played and met people, and who knows, like 10 years from now, you come across like someone like, oh, I played in this league with him, or went met him through college, and played intramurals together or something, whatever.
Hmm.
But you just, I mean, and then you network like that, and then also you just learn about like, I mean, everyone wants to complain about people being soft or whatever you call it, but well, there's not a lot of maybe not a lot of compete like you want to, or everything's kind of watered down, and it's like, well, we can't do that. We just we're not going to keep score. We're just going
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
play no one has, and like, well, I mean, so that's kind of where that's part of it too. It's like just learning to accept defeat, find out how you can kind of overcome things, and I
hmm
think that's part of this stuff too. Is not just, of course, when we're talking about the higher level, that's whatever. I mean, that's a money making business or whatever. But it's not. They're not all like that. And even with some of those sports, like the college part of it, isn't like they're trying for like Olympics. So they're trying for whatever the other leagues. It's not about the NCAA
yeah, yeah,
championship.
yeah.
That's just what they're doing to stay in shape and
Hmm.
keep sharp until like the actual real competition comes. So
Hmm.
of course you're not going to make money off it, because the big deal with those sports is the international play.
Yeah. Well, on the other side of it, for a lot of these schools too, is like it's also a conduit, and it always has been to get these kids to come to school. Like
Yeah. Well, yeah, you still
they're
need students. Like you can't just you can't just be football players, and then that's the whole that's the whole enrollment there. Like, oh, you'd be some of those departments are going under real quick.
yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting time, that's for sure. And I think at some point we're gonna, like we've talked about with the NIL situation in general, like there's going to be some coming back to the mean, and I think there's going to be some coming back to the mean with how that stuff is viewed in the perspective of it as well.
I mean,
Um,
whether they want to or not, I just think it's just it's gonna have. I mean, much as you think people have endless pockets, at some point the money runs out eventually.
hmm
Like,
hmm
and not a matter of like they're not still making it. It's like they're not getting what they want for what they're putting in, so they're gonna stop helping fund your program. Like eventually, these things are gonna change, and
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see if it, with I know we'll probably talk about it soon here, but with if any expansion or whatever, that will, kind of make it I guess, give more people an opportunity to compete for the whole thing. So that might cut back some spending as far as that goes, because maybe you don't have to, you you get in out of the 16th team of 24 and go on a run, and who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so that actually leads us greatly into our last couple of things we're going to touch on, and you just brought it up. One of them, the talk about what the CFP is going to be expanded to has been hot and heavy here this offseason. There was a story out the other day that's Big 12 coaches, and I think it was West Virginia who had brought it up. Was like, yeah, well, we all voted for 24. Like they were all in favor of that. And for a league like that, it totally makes sense. You want as many as possible when you're considered we don't make as much money as the other guys kind of thing. But it does feel like it's that going that way for most leagues in general. I think there's still some bickering on the top two there between the Big Ten and the SEC, what they really would love. But it feels like it's trending that direction. And yeah, you're right. And I mean, I said this years ago, but it is what it is now. Like all those teams that decided that they needed to go join this other league are feeling pretty stupid now. I mean, aside from the media money, which who knows how that's going to turn out now too, because we're litigating that in Congress. It sounds like, so you know you make your path harder to get into things, and now it's going to be a little bit easier. So maybe that's the give and take, so to speak. We kind of knew it was dumb to be playing 10 teams to go get in this thing, and then playing 16 to 18, and then okay, now we're going to expand it to make it a little bit easier for those teams that are in those 18 teams, 16 teams leagues to get. So, but at the end of the day, I think it's what the fans want too. Everybody wants to see this expanded. Most teams that have a legitimate opportunity to win some games in what would be a playoff, that's what we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, more on the field, as close as you can get to deciding on the field, and less, kind of what do you want to call it, politicking and trying to state your case. Then whatever you have to do that, then that would be where I would be like, okay, we're good, because the number doesn't really matter to me as far as how you get there. I guess would be more of the thing I'd be like, yeah, that's good or bad. So and this is it probably won't be, but it'd be nice if this whatever they come to with this time, like, can we just stick with it for more than 1 or 2 years?
Yeah.
See if, because I don't even know what works if we barely got to whatever now, and it's like, oh, we're gonna switch again because it was four for a few years and it bumped up, and so just try to find something and stick with it, and then also, I mean, it's tough with that many teams, but however you can do it with deciding on the field as much as possible, that's I think that's the best thing you can do, and I don't think there's. I'm just not with these. If you win your conference, that's about the only thing I could be willing to be like, okay, you deserve automatic because that's more of a body of work than just a game here or a game there. So because you're never going to decide on, everyone wants to say that the best are the best. I mean, you can point to certain things, but I mean, when it's opinion based, I think that's where you run into issues, and that had always been the problem with college football. It was always had to be about the polls and where you're at, and you had to get style points and all that thing. Getting away from that is good, but you can't just be like, okay, we're gonna have 24, but we get guaranteed six or whatever, per conference. So that kind of defeats the whole purpose, I would think, of expanding.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. I think if we, more we can figure it out to make it less some computer or less some person deciding it. That certainly is what we want. It does get a little bit hairy when you're getting to that mark because we're obviously going to eliminate conference championship games. Probably is what's going to happen. Or I mean, I guess if there's a way it can be integrated into it, that would be awesome. I mean, that would be ideal. But I can see where that's not going to happen. But at least if we have some metric to claim that this team is quote unquote the conference champion, fine. And then that the other ones that would be bitching about we didn't get to play in it or we didn't get a chance to decide it are still going to be in. So I think you eliminate some of that bickering. So hopefully that works out at the end of the day. Much more to come on that, obviously, until they make an official decision and we get some things straightened out. As I mentioned, there's still some things going on in Congress that are, who knows what that really is and what that can be enforced. They're talking about maybe, requiring teams to stay in leagues that play certain teams was one of the caveats in this deal. Media sharing, right sharing kind of thing, which ultimately I'm on board with it. I know the teams that are in those top two leagues aren't on board with that, and I get it. Why you wouldn't be? That makes sense to me too. You want as much of the pie as you can get, but I think ultimately fans understand that the reason the NFL is still something people are interested in is because they've created a structure that makes it so that there is some parity. Otherwise, you'd just be, whatever. Jeff Bezos could decide to buy one team and pay 1 million players, and then they'd be the good team forever. So you got to have rules. We don't have that now in the college ranks. So I think anything that you can create to create that type of atmosphere, we've obviously made a jump towards, this is semi-professional stuff. So you got to have some semi-professional rules. I think that's going to come more to that at the end of the day. There's still going to be some fighting because nobody wants to let go of their piece of the pie. I get that. But we're going to get closer to it.
Yeah, that's seems like that should be the everyone's goal, but apparently that's not the case. So I mean, and you said you can understand wanting to fight for as much as you can get. It's kind of just negotiating type of thing. But I mean, like I said, get a resolution and stick with it. It would be, I mean, you can work around whatever you decide. It's probably not going to be perfect. There's always going to be debate, which I think isn't necessarily bad as long as it's, if there's some basis behind it. It's more of the I think people kind of got on board when you just get tired of SEC always trying to say they're the best or nothing other than saying we're the best.
Yeah.
At least have some proof of proof of it there, and then people can go with it. But you can't speak. Well, we just think we're better. Like, well, that doesn't really work, especially when some of the and with some of the on-field results as of late, it's kind of hard to you don't really have the maybe you should have if they would have kind of had this stance 4 or 5 years ago, they probably could have kind of had their way. But now with the case of everyone catching up, and now that everyone can pay, just out front, you don't really have that built-in advantage that you used to have.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think we maybe had mentioned this. I don't remember because it was just during the lead up in the last couple of weeks when the Iowa State was doing their kind of like tailgate tour. Jamie Pollard, their AD, made some comments about, people were kind of just I think he's just getting tired of the questions. So he was like, okay, well, if the SEC and the Big Ten want to go do their thing and play their own ball, let them do it. Let them see how much fun it is. And he's not like, I can see his perspective. Like when it comes to the other sports, he's not wrong. Like, how many of you play X sport? It just goes away basically. Like you're going to have a 10-team battle for, swimming or whatever the hell it is. Like you can't do that. And I think there's people that don't agree with me, and I there's plenty that would say, okay, fine, make it a SEC Big Ten thing, and it'd be fine. That's what they want to do. I just think the more you fragment this thing, the less popular it becomes. You're gonna ruin people that are from other places that probably have teams that they follow from other leagues. They will always watch everything because there's some kind of casual connection there. If you eliminate that, do they still care? I don't know. I mean, yeah, some of them probably still will, but like, I don't know, even from a personal perspective, I love college football, but if that's what happens, I might be spiteful enough just to say, fuck it, I ain't going to watch that stuff. Like, I'll watch my team in their league, and that's what it is. I just don't see it ever getting to the point where everybody's going to be, like, that greedy to, like, just ruin it and blow it up to that extent. I don't know. Maybe it may happen, but I just don't see that being that's not a good thing in general for those teams too, because I think that money pot gets smaller if you ruin the interest from a good chunk of the country.
I don't know. People say that all that. I don't think it's really even like anything that could in practice happen. It's must be like people kind of concerned about seeing the way it's going and being like, there's just going to be those two eventually. More like I don't know. It's to me, I feel like older writers or like stuff that write about that are like it in the good old days. It used to be like this, and so they're just scared about change and things going crazy. And I'm not saying that some of those people probably have an idea in their head. I just don't know that they could convince enough people to kind of make it work in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the short term, it may work good, but those aren't exactly what strange bedfellows type of thing. You don't exactly want to just throw all your efforts into somebody into a, I guess you could call it a enterprise or business with someone that you don't really like or trust.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it's a good way to go. So that's why I don't think it's, because even though they're like the two big ones, just I don't really care for the conference. It's just like teams in it, so you have to follow it. The Big Ten and SEC don't agree on a lot of things.
No.
So it'd be weird for them to kind of start doing things together. So I don't really think that that's even like an option. And I guess I get why you'd be frustrated, but also I don't know if it's even worth like first, 80 to. I mean, he probably just had a bad day and kind of snapped,
I'm sure,
But I'm just like, I don't know if there's anything you have to worry about, or like, I don't know, probably better. I mean, maybe just don't like, because that's the only thing is going to picked up, and then they're going to come back and be like, okay, fine, we will go. And then
and we won't do it for you.
Here we go. Yeah. Like, son of a bitch. But either way, like, I just don't think that it's even a possibility. It's just because of all the egos involved. Of course, when you bring in the money factor too, and then I just don't really see it happening. But I do, you hear the talk of, and I guess maybe it's just where I hear from most people are just kind of like, guys that want it to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust and only 2 games a year on TV because that makes it more romanticized. Like, shut up! Like, why would you not want to watch your team? But also it's people that have a credential to go to every game, so they don't care if it's on TV because they're there no matter what. So, but yeah, I just don't see how it actually work out. I mean, you could theoretically you can kind of picture it in your mind of kind of I guess the big money guys throwing their weight around, but I just don't think there'd be enough middle ground to kind of come to an agreement where everything would go even close to smooth, let alone work at all.
Yeah. We're talking Texas running the show kind of thing.
Oh, exactly. Egomaniacs everywhere. I mean, you think Alabama's going to want to listen to Texas, or Ohio State's going to want to listen to freaking Georgia, and Michigan's going to fall in line. I mean, they got all kinds of other problems going on up there too when it comes to that thing. So yeah, I don't see how it would ever come into play and actually work. I mean, I guess maybe they'd try it. I just think if they ever did, it would not. It'd be a total failure. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yep. Well, and yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that he should have made those comments at that point, and especially like if that's the thing that fucking screws you over at the end of the day, like, well, we're not going to take that team, then yeah, I'm going to be real upset about that. I think yeah, he's definitely a guy that's like at the end of his like road, like he's not that far away from retirement. I think he just doesn't give a fuck anymore, which I appreciate to an extent, but I also don't agree with him on everything either, and that's fine, but. I don't know. It's definitely brought up an interesting talking point, though, and of course, people ran with it. One other last little thing I want to touch on real quick before we leave you. This also, oddly enough, involves a team that I follow, and I think it just is kind of a microcosm of things that are also happening in the NIL era. Milan Momcilovic declared for the NBA draft, and then also entered the transfer portal as kind of a backup. You don't get the feedback you want from the NBA, you're going to have to go back to school. Well, we all know in this era you don't have a lot of time usually to figure out what the hell you're going to do with your team for the next season and where you're going to allocate your funds type of thing. And especially at a school like Iowa State where you don't have endless funds, we all know that. You're going to have to play that very smartly. So I think, he had a discussion with the coaching staff, and they were just kind of the agreement of, we really think that you should do this for yourself to test the NBA waters because you think you're ready. I mean, I think they wholeheartedly felt he should have stayed in. But if at the end of the day you have to go somewhere else, A, we're not probably going to have the space for you, and B, we're not going to have the money for you. So, good luck and do what you want to do. And it's obviously he did, jump out of the undeclare from the draft. So now he is going back to school. There was a kid that left that was committed to Iowa State, that decommitted. So there technically is a spot where he could come back to play for the Cyclones. But when you hear the numbers that are being thrown around, it's certainly not a reality in Ames. They're talking, at first I was hearing 4 to 5 million. Then I was hearing even up to close to 10 million, perhaps, what he could make for a season. Sounds like Louisville and Kentucky were the final two, bidding war people that were involved in this. And hell, by the time we're talking, he may have made a decision, and I don't know it yet. But it's just one of those things. It's it is what it is, but it's also a thing that, again, from a fan's perspective, just sucks. This is what it is. In reality, if it was a real world, 5 years ago, he would have came back to Iowa State and it would have been fine. But now, and I think in his heart of hearts, he probably wants to. He doesn't hate that idea. But if you're going to make that kind of money, we all know that we haven't blamed any of these kids for saying, "Oh, I'm going to go take this bag somewhere else," and you tell them, "Hell, dude, go do that." But I think that where we're drawing a weird line here is like, if you're going to make that kind of money compared to what a professional team was going to pay you, like that's where we know this has gotten out of control, and it's not sustainable. But you can't do this every year, and I don't even know if I want my team to spend that kind of money on a player that coming back. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean the whole testing the waters of the draft was kind of always put the player in a bad spot because it's like you had to declare by this date, and by that time it was too late. You to come back. So, but that would have benefited as far as like the school and the fan side of it. So that changed. So that's one thing, and then also just the money thrown around, which who knows what's real and what's not. But even then, it's got to be a significant amount if they're unable or not willing to even come close to matching it for him to go back there.
Yeah.
If there was even a spot or even it's possible, because who knows with enrollment things and all that. I mean, there is, even though there's not, there's still, I guess, whatever you want to call legality or things that hurdles to cross as far as like admissions and all that type of thing and dates with that. So I mean, I know they're not exactly worried about the studies like but either way, you still got to be either a student or a graduate student of some sort. And then just as far as you want compensation for making all this money, because that's always been our stance, but it's not supposed to be like some guy opens a briefcase, deal or no deal. Like I don't think that was like the
Yeah.
concept of like what the hell. Like so that's it's almost just like becomes like a joke, and I'm like this is just stupid. It's like of course you're annoyed and pissed off, but even then it's like this you just kind of shake your head like I don't even care. Like whatever, do whatever you got to do, and probably doesn't sound like it's anything was like ill will or nothing that he
Yeah.
kind of
No.
tried to screw the school, but it still is kind of like a weird spot. But it's not the only one, and there's supposed to be, these things put in place with some supposed cap of money and all that, but it just keeps showing up from who knows where and whatever. And if you can pay it, go ahead and do what you got to do. But I just the bottom thing to me, the bottom line would just be that kind of thing you close on. It's like it doesn't seem. I mean, without knowing exactly how much people make, just in general, anytime you kind of put everything with this guy and we're paying him this much and that's building everything around him, it just doesn't seem to end well when you're kind of going that route. So, I mean, you still got to build a team, whatever sport you're in. Of course, you got to have talent, but anytime it's a high dollar thing, I mean, you mentioned Louisville and Kentucky. It's been a while since, I mean, their championship or bust by their fan base, or at least Final Four, and they haven't sniffed it for a while, either of those teams. So,
Yeah.
that's I mean for them it's a failure. It's the money they've been spending and the results they've been getting. So I mean so it doesn't to me. I would feel kind of uneasy about spending that much money on one player, and then I mean I can't imagine keeping a roster intact if you want to make a run
Yeah.
with some paying someone even close to even half of what maybe is rumored out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane, and it certainly has been an interesting Twitter week between the Iowa State Kentucky fan bases. I can say that because it is true that Iowa State ran Kentucky off the floor in the NCAA tournament last year. So perspective is short lived apparently, but it's I don't know. Obviously it's a thing that's not gonna it ain't gonna get solved until this whole scenario is solved, but it is a problem, and it just sucks that you can't, again, from a fan's perspective, that you can't have an opportunity for that player to make that decision to come back to did he want to, and then still feel good about it. That's the issue at hand here. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see at the end of the day, what that is, if we ever find out what that money is, and then also, what happens to him the next year. It sucks from a other school's perspective, like especially if it's a good guy, like you don't want to wish ill will, but you also don't want to see him win the national championship either. So it's kind of like one of those things. But we'll find out.
I mean, this might be a little too conspiracy theory, but it's almost like whoever's, whatever the powers to be in the NCAA college game, whatever you want to take, almost want it to get so bad with people. It's like, okay, just don't pay him anymore.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
they want their money back and go screw these guys. They don't know how to do it. So that's probably a little too far, but it's almost like they're letting it get so out of hand. It's like they don't just want it to freaking total train wreck and blow up and then be like, see, we shouldn't have never
Yeah,
paid these
yeah.
kids.
See,
Yeah,
see?
like
You were bad mouthing us all this time. We told you. Yeah, that's true. That might not be wrong. So yeah, that's another part of the whole saga that is going on in the world of college sports. We've got, of course, coming up here, if you're a follower of those college sports that we talked about that don't get the love that they maybe do sometimes, Women's College World Series is going on right now. Men's College World Series right around the corner. They're playing regionals this weekend. They'll have the Super Regionals next weekend. There's been some fun stuff on that front, some good experiences and excitement. I know from your school standpoint, SJ, it's pretty cool that you've got, two teams that had some success. Ultimately, I know for one of them today didn't get what they wanted at the end of the day.
they
But
both. Yeah, today was not the good day, but before today it was good. They both end up, season coming to an end, but both had pretty good runs. And I was more kind of surprised with the softball. I thought they had actually a good chance to kind of win the whole thing, but it's tough when you get to those final eight. So I mean,
Yeah.
just making it that far is pretty good. So you can't be too mad about it overall. But in the moment, you're like, they kind of it seemed like they had a good chance there in this, one swing of the bat. Those softballs are interesting watch. It's just like everything's so compact.
mm-hmm.
And it's like the ball doesn't fly, but when you get a hold of it, like it's. I mean, pop fly is out of the fence, man. It's almost damn near out of the stadium in some of those instances. So interesting watch. But yeah. we'll do a little College World Series. So no matter who's in it, that's always a fun thing, and we'll take a look at that. And who knows, maybe get up there and raise some heck there in downtown Omaha.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. It has been cool. I will say I watched like a couple of obviously with Nebraska and then with Kansas hosting a regional, like some places that aren't traditional. It was kind of cool to see them have that chance and get the people riled up and fans were behind it. So that's fun to see. And so we'll get to that not too far down the road. Anything that you would like to have us talk about or anything that you see or plays you would like to make, let us know. You can follow us on Twitter at SGMBets, at CherokeeCP. Those are the handles there. We would love it if you would like, subscribe, get the notifications on the YouTube channel there. Every day we're covering. We'll post our picks there from time to time for you to get down that front. And then the podcast, available on all the major platforms, including our host at Spotify, but any one that you love to use, just search us up. You'll find us. If not, let us know, and we'll make sure that it gets put into that feed and get you hooked up with the show. That's SG Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for another week of Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.